G'day everyone. Well, I'm very pleased to say that we got our Cavescape into the 125 gallon reef tank and it's looking spectacular. It takes up 1/3 of the tank. Lights are out now as it's now night time, but it is looking spectacular in the tank. A little bit nervous when we're picking it up from the workbench, but my wife and I very carefully picked it up and lowered it into the tank, and no dramas. This little piece here did come loose, but it's only like one of the footings, and it's more for looks than keeping it structurally sound, and just managed to slip it back in place. But other than that, it's all held together beautifully and it looks spectacular. Nice big cave. Couldn't be happier with it. Can't wait until we can start putting coral on there. We're going to have to recycle all the rock again since we dried it all off outside out in the sun, but it is looking fantastic. Got some nice areas underneath for the water to flow through, keeping it off the glass. We're not going to be putting sand in here. It's going to be a substrate free aquarium this time, but really happy with our Cavescape. So we're going to call this structure our aquascape. This one's going to be the Cavescape. We're going to have one in the middle of the tank. It's going to be our treescape. Then we're going to have a third structure like this on the other side of the tank, which I don't know, we're not really sure how we're going to design it yet. Have to wait and see how we go with what rock we've got left still drying outside as to how it turns out. But the plan is, I mean, we've only got one fish at the moment, clownfish, and once we get the aquascape done, we'll slowly start getting some more fish again. And prior to moving to this house, we moved to another house which only stayed there for a year, and we refrained from getting any more fish because we only planned on staying at that last house for a year and then buying this house. And yeah, we traded in a few fish and we had a few fish die, and this is the only fish we got left, is our little solitary clownfish. He's loving having the place to himself at the moment. But this will be the lion's lair eventually, this nice big cave. That's half the reason why we wanted a cave, and we both love the cave design and wanted a nice big cave formation in our reef tank, and eventually we'd like to get a fuzzy lionfish, and this will be the lion's lair. I'm sure he'll claim this as his cave. But he'll be the last fish we'll probably get for this aquarium. We're planning on getting a few other fish prior to the lionfish. We've had lionfish in the past, which you'll probably see in our previous videos. We've had a dwarf zebra, and we had a Mombasa lionfish, and unfortunately they passed away some time back. So yeah, this time my wife has her heart set on a dwarf fuzzy lionfish. Read a bit about him, and we had a lot of success with the Mombasa. He never ate any of his other tank mates, but he was the last fish to be put in the tank, and he respected his other tank mates. So we're hoping this time round, when we get another lionfish for the tank and making him the last inhabitant, that he won't eat any of his tank mates. And another little change I've had to make down here in the sump. Normally when I would show you the sump, it would be glowing green and a little bit of pink. As you can now see, it's all pink. I've had to do away with the phytoplankton chamber, I found out, and I suspected might end up being the case, that when the power goes off, the water level rose too high, and the tank water ended up going into the phytoplankton chamber. I suspected that might be an issue, and unfortunately it was. So I've just now ended up draining the phytoplankton out of the phytoplankton chamber, and just going to now use that as a drain chamber. I'm going to keep that empty, so if the power ever goes out again, it's going to be a little reservoir to take up the excess water, and yeah, just a little security to make sure that, you know, don't end up with any flood on the floor. It's just a spare reservoir now to take up excess water if the power ever goes off. So we had a tornado warning the other day, and it lasted for a while, and thankfully we never had any tornadoes touch down, but the power did go out for a little short time, and yeah, ended up with a little bit of a issue with the water flooding the phytoplankton chamber. So I will continue doing the phytoplankton, but I'll be doing it in a 1 gallon jar. I've already got 4 jars that we were very lucky to find them, 1 gallon glass jars. We found them at Walmart for $1 each. A very lucky find that my wife stumbled across. They normally go for about $8 something, so they're the glass jars with the lid and a little tap on them. So I'll be doing some copepod culturing, and in 3 of them, and one of them I'll be culturing the phytoplankton in that. And I also, I don't know if you can see it. Oh yeah, I put a little bit of a sponge up against the egg crate, just to stop bubbles from going into the return chamber. And my Cato's growing pretty well under this light, and every now and then, because I've got a few micro bubbles coming up, because my protein skimmer's going crazy from putting the rock into the tank. So that's just to stop a lot of the bubbles from going up into the return pump and up into the display tank. Still got a few micro bubbles coming in, but it's not as bad now as what it was, and things will settle down after a while. And I've got the protein skimmer turned up as far as I can, but it's still bubbling over, so it'll settle down in time. But yes, as far as the Cavescape goes, my Cave Aquascape, couldn't be happier. Looks awesome. So let me know what you think of it in the comments below, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed, and I shall get back to you on that next video.